Hello and welcome to Solo Guitars. Today we are getting back to work on our Ash Burl Top Telecaster guitar kit. In our last video we showed you what comes with the kit and how to do your initial checks to make sure that everything is as it should be. In this video we're going to show you how to install the electronics portion of the kit. Don't forget to stick around to check out the rest of the series where we show you how to put on the rest of the hardware, and don't forget that you can get any upgrade parts you want for the electronics at the Solo Music Gear website. Let's get to work.
As you can see, the kit generally comes with the pickguard already installed and the neck pickup installed in the pickguard. If your kit does not have the pickguard installed, it's a simple matter of putting the wire from the neck pickup through into the control cavity and then screwing the pickguard into place. I'm using some masking tape here to protect this beautiful veneer on this kit so that I can do my soldering work without having to worry about burning it by accident. We start here by installing the grounding wire. There's a small black wire that goes to ground on here, and the ground is on the bottom of the bridge. So you run the wire through to the pickup cavity and then underneath the bridge, and the exposed portion of the wire just gets bent over there so that you can put the bridge on top of it. Simply screwing the bridge into place will make that connection, and you'll have your grounding for that portion done. Next, you run the humbucker wires through in the opposite direction into the control cavity, and then you can screw your bridge in place. Again, make sure that ground wire is there and is in place before you do this. Make sure that the exposed wire from the ground wire will make contact with the bottom of the bridge. After this, it's a simple matter of wiring up the two pickups and the output jack, and then your guitar is ready to go from an electronics perspective. But keep in mind, there are many different ways to wire a guitar like this. There are many different modifications, and of course, there are always upgraded electronics parts and other parts available from solomusicgear.com. So I suggest that you look up a wiring diagram if you're looking to make this a little bit more interesting. But for the purpose of the basic installation here, we're just going to use a very straightforward wiring scheme. So we'll put our two ground cables together once we've got our hot cables in place. Keep in mind that the colors will not always be consistent on these, so you will have to take a look at whatever pickups come with yours. What I'm doing here is just wiring the neck pickup into one side of the switch, and I'm doing that by bridging it across to the two lugs second from the end on that side. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side with the bridge wire. That's the hot wire for the bridge, the red one in that case. If you've got a bare wire, that will be your ground, so that will be consistent across all pickups. And thus I know that my insulated wire is the hot and is the one that goes to these switches. You can see I've bridged those two on the one side here. I'm going to do the same for the other side, like I said, with the bridge wire. Keep in mind that these switches are set up so that when you throw it to one side, it activates the wire on the opposite side. So right now, mine is set up so that when I move the switch away from where my yellow wire is, that is how I'm going to activate my neck pickup. Remember, your solder should be shiny when you're done using it, so your finished product should have a nice sheen to it. Be sure to heat up the lug first before applying your solder. You can do that from the same side that you're applying the solder and wait for it to attach itself to the lug the way that you've just seen me do it, or you can heat up the lug from the opposite side and wait until it's warm enough that the solder will go directly onto it. Either one of those options will work. It's simply a matter of preference and how clean you like to keep your soldering iron. I'm attaching both of my ground cables together here. They're both going to the same place. That will be the back of the pot. If you don't have a solder puddle on the back of the pot already, you can make a new one by scratching the back of the pot up a little bit with some sandpaper so that the solder will stick properly, heating the back of the pot up, and then applying your solder. In this case, I am tinning these wires significantly to make it easier to stick them onto the back of the pot and to ensure that they are going to stay together. You see me here scratching up the back of the potentiometer like I said. This is just 400 grit paper. And now I'm going to build a small puddle of solder stuck to the back there that I can put the wires into. You will need a decent soldering iron or soldering station for this. A fair bit of heat is required, particularly when you're doing this on the back of a potentiometer, but a little bit of patience will serve you well for this. Then it's a simple matter of attaching those two cables into the hot solder and letting it cool down for a moment so that they stay. Now this plate is ready to go in, and I just need to run my 2 wires out to where the output jack will be installed. When you go to solder up your output jack, run the cables through the hole to it first. We have on occasion seen people solder up their output jacks and then realize that they have to undo that in order to get everything through that hole. So do this first. It's easy to solder it just on the outside of the guitar like this. Directly across from the tip will be your hot lug, and then the other one, which attaches to the sleeve, and you can see that from the top, is your ground. So make sure you get those the right way. Your ground will be the black one, in some cases a bare wire coming off of a pickup, but in this case your black wire. Again, if you're having difficulty getting your solder to stick, you can scratch up your lug a little bit and that will help. And again, if you heat up the lug from the opposite side, you can attach the solder without getting your soldering iron dirty, and that will ensure that you do have it hot enough for the solder to stick. Once that's in place, I simply screw in my output jack, and there we go. All of the electronics in this guitar are now installed.